Good morning, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Got a story today that I haven't made a video about, and it's personal and very important to what's going on here. And uh, I did a small Facebook post today. I didn't tell the whole story on it like I'm going to in this video, but I want to show you the opener here that I posted earlier. The ex convinced me that my daughter had been raped when she said you would have been proud of her. She fought back hard. And that's what she would do too. She's my mini me. And she was talking about my oldest daughter, Jennifer Webb Youngblood. Now her name's Youngblood. She's married to Chance Youngblood. And so I'm gonna talk about uh, that, and she has denied this, but at the same time, Jennifer has quit talking to me several years ago, and as many in my family has refused to help me whatsoever after I survived a home invasion murder attempt, and I'm living under the threat of death right now, even with the incredible amount of evidence I have uh, concerning these crimes and suspected multiple other murders, and so I can't answer for them. I wondered if they've been blackmailed, threatened. If maybe they threatened me. I don't really know, but I just know that has been what happened, and it's been thrown in my face many times over. Oh, well, what's your family? And you're going to even hear a part of that is that was used, I think, to try to get away with breaking into my home and trying to murder me, was my family turning their back on me. And um, and so and, and I'm not blaming them. Like I said, I have no idea. Only they can answer to why they chose to abandon and betray their own family. But anyway, this is what I want to talk about. I'm very serious about that. It's very upsetting. Like I said, she denies it, but the way the ex told me is you would have been proud of her. She fought back hard, and this daughter looks like me, thinks like me, eats the foods that I like. She is my mini me, and I believe that she's hard headed, and she's stubborn, and I believe she would have fought back hard. And so I believe that's true. Plus, I understand that this gang, and that's what they do. I mean, they have all the power, right? They got at least a dozen corrupt police working to help them break into homes and murder one homeowner after another, and they can stop free press across America, so they can do it. I mean, I don't know how you get more powerful than a gang that is this powerful and this evil, and no amount of evidence seems to matter. They've broken hundreds and tens of thousands of laws and crimes, and continue on. I'm sure they're probably pretty proud of it. I'm going to show you some old pictures when Jennifer was a little girl, and this is in Orla, Texas, out in the oil field. I lived at a gas plant. She was a baby right then. It was snowing. Here she is right there. We're reading the papers. I think that was probably in the Hobbs house in the backyard once again in Orla. This was in the Hobbs house on 7611 Rolling Meadows. And as I told you, and looking back, it looks like maybe that home was even rigged a long time ago. This right here was their footprints put in. I put in a fence in the backyard in the concrete. That's laying out there in the pasture right there in the boonies, and between Carlsbad and Pecos is the ghost town of Orla, Texas, next to Red Bluff Lake. Here we are in the tree swing. Jennifer on her little bike there in the backyard. Here she is. She always waited for me when I get home from work, and there she is again. Yeah. Um, when you have a parent, when you're a parent, and this kind of stuff goes on, it's pretty rough. Here she is in junior high and high school. She was the only girl that I know of was a cheerleader for both Clovis, New Mexico, and Hobbs, New Mexico, which are rival towns. She was varsity cheerleader for both, and it was a turbulent time, though. During those years, she lived with me during her senior year when she went over to Hobbs High, and and her mom met a guy on the internet, moved across the country, and she was pretty angry even back then, and it was not long after that's when she moved out and I moved to Midland. This is Chance. This is her husband, Chance Youngblood. My grandson, Hayden, and they have a daughter, Maddox, now, who I've never met. As I said, I haven't talked to Jennifer's. Last I heard, she was living in Washington. I don't know why or how that come about, but that is. Of course, in 2012, I'm ambushed and shot. There's all kinds of evidence about that, and somebody under my home, shoots me. I'd been reporting repeated burglaries in my home. There's a burglar trapped in the bathroom, so I was shot during a burglary. It's suspected that it might have been some corrupt police. After we found that 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwin, Angel Hill, were at or in my home when they wasn't seen arriving on the camera. So maybe it's police that tried to murder me in my home because of that. They were working with the burglars that are breaking in homes and committing all these crimes that I had been reporting to them. Anyways, in a year and a half later, in 2013, ex-wife, which I was only married to for 3 months and separated a month before I was ambushed and shot, she's alleged to be involved in the shooting. She files a protective order on me. Well, I hadn't seen her, talked to her in a year and a half, and she lived in Lubbock, over 100 miles away. So, right off the bat, it was just to the level of absurdity. And it was basically, the whole thing was based on 2 non-threatening emails. One, I had wrote her and told her that her ex-boyfriend had talked to me and told me that she had a lot to do with the shooting, and that she threatened to have him killed, and I included that in the email and advised her to talk to the FBI. So that's not a reason for a protective order. It's actually an act of kindness. And then the second one was asking what she knows about my mom's death, and my mom died the month before I was ambushed and shot. I found out I was lied to, and that's still unanswered. What happened with my mom? Jennifer was living in Hobbs at the time when Mom died. Okay, so but due to the protective order here, my attorney subpoenaed all the police records. Well, what we didn't know, they withheld, that police report from the night of the murder attempt. That was withheld. I didn't get it till 2019, illegally withheld because it's subpoenaed. But what did come out is I found out that this daughter, Jennifer, had been emailing Midland Detective Rosie Rodriguez just a couple hours after I had crawled out. And keep in mind, this is Midland, and here's Jennifer from Hobbs, and for some unknown reason, she's in communications with Detective Rosie Rodriguez. I think if we had a real police out there, they could find out how that worked out, because that don't make any sense. I'm suspecting that Rosie Rodriguez and Jennifer, my oldest daughter, they knew each other prior to this murder attempt. Okay, and I believe law enforcement could find that out if they did. Okay, so I called at 10:42 p.m. that night, and at 2:14 a.m. Jennifer forwarded this mail to Rosie Rodriguez. Okay, and Jennifer sends an email to Rosie 3 hours after I shot. This one is called Just in Case, and what it was in January 15, 2011, over a year before I was ambushed and shot, I sent an email to friends and family called Just in Case. And I said, just in case something happens to me, I want everybody to know it wasn't an accident, okay? And my family and friends. And because I was figuring out at that point that these crimes, I was looking at what happened to the last homeowner, Mike Lawhon, and what's going on here. And so a whole year in advance, I'm telling my family and friends, just in case something happens to me, it won't be an accident, And so Jennifer forwards that email a year later to Rosie Rodriguez, the detective that read it and then ruled this murder attempt an accident. Ain't that amazing? Ain't that amazing? Dirty, dirty, dirty. Okay. The other email that got sent, this one was a few minutes earlier. This was from Jennifer to Rosie Rodriguez. And like I said, email was sent an hour and a half before police sneaked into my home. That's when the secret police got caught on camera. And here Jennifer writes Rosie, and that's what I'm saying. This looks like it sounds like to me, hey, they knew each other before, this murder attempt. How can that be if Jennifer lived in Hobbs, And it says, and Jennifer's writing to Rosie Rodriguez, I forgot to mention that he, who is me, her dad, has filed some sort of paperwork with the Midland FBI office regarding what he believes is happening at his house. He's also asked News West 9 to air a story on the things happening at his house. They in turn asked him to provide proof. Of course, now we know that, the News West 9, they don't need proof. They're hiding this from the public. He also does not like or trust the Midland Police Department. Okay, I'm a lifelong supporter. I don't like corrupt police. Let's be clear about that. He believes there is a prostitution ring in his neighborhood and in this city too. He has accused one of his neighbors face to face as being ahead of it. I don't have no clue what you're talking about. That never happened. And he believes that the police are part of it. I do believe that. Okay. He has made a comment that the police could harm him because he knows they are involved in the ring. And it looks like it may have been police that shot me. 5 police officers looks like were below my home, and somebody below my home tried to murder me. Okay. He made this comment when the police were at his house last, and so I don't think that's valid either. If it is, it's based on a lie told by these police, and they're caught lying and lying and lying. Okay, but the email, that was what she wrote Rosie. Okay, but the email was sent about 12 hours earlier. Okay, and it's went from, and I'm gonna show you here, from my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, Mitzi Webb. Okay, sister-in-law. She sends it to Jennifer 12 minutes after I crawled out. Now remember, I didn't even find out about all this until a year and a half after I survived the murder attempt. That Jennifer's in contact with this dirty cop, Rosie Rodriguez, but just the timing was so odd. Just minutes after I crawled out, Mitzi, who lives over in Hobbs, is forwarding this email to, or sending an email to Jennifer. And what she's telling her is that I sent her email 12 hours earlier in that day. So earlier in the day, I had contacted Mitzi. And I said, Mitzi, I pray that you read this a few times, understand what I'm trying to tell you. Ask that you say a prayer before you do to help you see the truth. Watch your back and God bless you. Because, of course, I'm worried about my family in this crime ring. I apologize, a little wordy. I pray nothing. My mom died this night. My new wife and I were in Midland when a phone call came in. I pray that I'm doing the right thing. I know that everything I'm saying is true to the best of my knowledge, so I hope that it helps rather than hurts my family. These are the events of December 7th here at Midland around lunchtime. The ex-wife and I arguing. We'd only been married 2 months. Out of the blue, she states she's going to Hobbs on the day that my mom died. And how she barely even knows my parents. She was going to stay with my parents, on the day that my mom died. And that was just so odd. I told her that I felt like separation, first step in divorce. She decided not to travel to Hobbs that weekend. So I tell her this longer story. It's longer than this, and because I figured out my brother, Mitzi's husband, had lied to me about what had happened that night. And the other things I later went back and looked at, and I noticed that there were 7 phone calls between the ex-wife and Mitzi on the day that my mom died, and I found out I was lied to. And I'm not going to get into that story about the death of my mom, but I have a video on it. Anyway, the point is that I emailed my sister-in-law that I told him I contacted the police department in Hobbs, and then contacted the sheriff, that I sent an email. There's an email out there that I sent them telling them where I figured out I was lied to about what my mom died the month before I'm ambushed and shot. And then that is the email that Mitzi is sending to Jennifer 12 minutes after I crawled out. And then Jennifer is forwarding that email to Rosie Rodriguez, okay? And she's a main player for sure. One of the suspects, maybe the shooter, Looks like she planted evidence. She's tampering with evidence. It's proven she's lied on the police reports. She is definitely a main player, Rosie Rodriguez. So I wanted to show you them 2 emails. So Jennifer has some connection and has never answered question because she don't talk to me anymore. Okay. In the protective order hearing testimony, this is out of the transcript. Okay. Here's Rodriguez right here. Okay. She testifies that she called the ex-wife. Did you call her on the cell phone? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so as a matter of court record, under risk of perjury, Detective Rodriguez testifies that she called the ex-wife. But then but the ex-wife testifies that Jennifer asked her to call Detective Rodriguez, And the ex-wife's up there and says, I was contacted in January by his daughter. Actually, Jennifer Webb contacted me and said his father was in the emergency room and she requested that I call her. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. The ex-wife is saying that Jennifer called her and told her to call Rosie. But Rosie's saying she called her. Okay, so one of them people's lying. Either Rodriguez or the ex-wife is lying. Can we all agree to that? That one of them is guilty of perjury, and this is a very important case because because both of them testified that I was crazy. Both of them testified I was delusional, and that carried out the extortion threat. Remember the recording made in September 2011, where the ex-wife admitted to being a witness to the crimes going on in my house and admitted to trying to extort $1,800 a month with me with the threat of, if you don't pay me, then I'm going to tell everybody you're crazy. And she went into court with her friend Rodriguez, and I didn't know they were lifelong friends until this court, right? I mean, a year and a half later, here Rodriguez is heavily involved, the one that rules this failed murder and accident, and come to find out she's lifelong friends with the person that's alleged to be involved in it, my ex-wife, by her former boyfriend. But I want to tell you what the point is here. Jennifer was brought up. Okay, so Jennifer somehow has some main connection here. We're going to talk about the FBI because it's going to have a connection back to Jennifer, my daughter, that I was told that was raped. Okay, and so I'm going to go over here because it's a longer story. In 2011 was my first call to the FBI from the DCP midstream office, okay, in a huddle room. Remember, this is before I was ambushed and shot, and I'm calling them because the police are not doing nothing, and I'm calling about the repeated burglaries to my home, and I suspected even then that this crime ring had killed the guy that lived there before me, okay? And so there should be a record of me calling the Dallas FBI office in 2011, okay? My second contact with the FBI was in 2012, okay, after I crawled out on my hands and knees to survive a premeditated home invasion capital murder attempt and now crippled for life. Then I called the FBI and I spoke with an agent named Sherry Rice, okay. During this phone call, and I'm telling her my story, and one of the things I tell her is that on the day that I was shot, I cleaned my microwave, okay? And when I got back out of the hospital 10 days later, my microwave was filthy. So I knew somebody had been in my house, staying in my house, using my microwave during that time, okay? And so I'm explaining to her, I was absolutely sure that happened during this time. And Sherry Rice says, okay, let me write this down. Let me get this right. You're saying that you're saying the mob shot you because your microwave's dirty. And at that point, I knew Sherry Rice was dirty. Okay, because she's making fun of a crippled crime victim that's reporting murderers to her. Okay, that's how dirty she is right there. So my third visit, I created a evidence packet. Okay, it was probably an inch thick of paper. I drove to the Midland FBI office on Big Spring Street. I walked in there. I met Lamar Pruitt. Okay, and one of the first things I said, here is irrefutable and undeniable evidence of the cover-up of a premeditated murder attempt by people in the Midland Police Department. Okay, so then she's busy, wants me to talk to Dominic, Agent Dominic. Okay. So I'm going over the whole story, whatever. We're in the office there, and I make one statement in there. I said, maybe it's underground casinos, brothels, and he says, maybe. Real slow, drawn out, just like that. What'd that tell you? Told you that I guessed exactly right, and that Agent Dominic knew it was underground, illegal casinos, brothels, which would be big money makers, and I'm sure that they're probably using that money to bribe elected officials and police, etc., to cover up the murders of the innocent people, that are reporting crimes. Okay. And so I've seen multiple visits. Like I said, I provided them evidence to stop this crime ring, whatever. Well, on one of these visits, I go in there, and here's a guy that I hadn't even visited with, named Powers. He meets me in the foyer out there, and he tells me, he says, you need to go see a doctor, and you never come back to this office again. Okay. I'd been ordered to. Okay, and so as far as I'm concerned, see a doctor. Basically, he's that they've been trying to call me crazy to cover up these multiple murders, right, in the underground facilities. That's modus operandi for the crime ring. That's what they're doing there, and it don't matter how much evidence you have, ballistic evidence, recordings. It doesn't matter what you got, that's their modus operandi for murdering innocent people in our homes and help covering them up. And so I was ordered by an FBI agent never to go back there. I did at another time. I'll show you here in a minute. Spoke to another FBI agent named Baeza, okay, and Adolfo Baeza, and I'd go in there and meet different people. I have to tell them my story again. This is all in 2012. I also provided them in 2012 a list of IP addresses of people that were hacking my Gmail, okay, because these hackers have hacked and hacked and hacked, and and they could have traced that, and they could have found out obviously whoever's hacking my Gmail from Odessa, Texas, and Dallas, and Horseshoe Bay and Mesquite, Texas, was the people involved in these crimes and murders and burglaries and thefts, etc. Okay. So then on my third visit, no, I take that back. In 2016, I found out through the news that there was a supervisor there named Brandon Griffith. So I created a 3-ring binder of evidence and a flash drive, and I mailed it return receipt required because I wanted proof that the FBI got this evidence, and that way there was no doubt that they had evidence in these multiple murders, and then I get a call from Powers again, the same guy that told me not to go up there. He seems like a main player, this Powers, okay? And I have that recording, and we're going to listen to a part of it here in a minute, okay? And then I'm going to move on to 2019. And I went to the FBI again, but only under the advice of Homeland Security, Paul, okay? And he literally told me, yeah, they have a whole bunch of new people. They're not dirty anymore, because I had told him, my experience with the FBI already, so I go down there under the advice of Homeland Security to report these multiple murders, right? And I go in and get in office, and the agent I'm talking to literally refused to give me his name. I asked him multiple times. He called me duty agent. Well, what if I need to contact? Oh, just ask for duty agent. So obviously there's a clue right there, that this guy's involved. So I'm sitting there, telling him the story and the evidence, and I provide him the same packet of evidence that I provided Homeland Security, the 3-ring binder. Remember, there's a video on it. Evidence provided to Homeland. The same packet of evidence went to the FBI. So it was proof of them hacking my cameras, the multiple other homes that are being broken into, multiple proofs showing I wasn't shot with my gun. It has evidence on Haley Dunn. It has evidence on Mike Lawn, the young girl at the oil show party, Chad Simpson, the murder-suicide, Simpson murder-suicide, etc. A lot of stuff in that packet of evidence. And so while I'm sitting there, this duty agent pulls up a picture of the pry marks on my bathroom door, a picture I had taken, posted online. I didn't tell him where it was. He went and found it. Okay. And basically I had tie-wired my doors shut on the day of the murder attempt because I realized somebody had been inside my home again. I'd been reporting burglaries to the police starting 14 months earlier, and it just repeated burglaries. And it looks like after I got to the hospital, I found evidence showing that a burglar was trapped in that bathroom. Okay. And that's the pry marks on top of the door. Well, it's suspected that trap burglar might have been the excuse that these corrupt police used to try to murder me, because they were trying to free this burglar during the commission of a felony. And now keep that in mind. I'm reporting burglaries to them, felonies that send somebody to prison for many years, right? They're working with the burglars, right? And so once that I unknowingly trap one, they try to murder me. Now that's speculation, but that's pretty good speculation because it looks like they're under my house with guns, right? And it looks like it was Lieutenant Dickey that let the burglar out of the trap bathroom. Okay, but it looked like this duty agent with the FBI knew about it, because he went and pulled up that picture of them pry marks, and I didn't tell him where it was. Okay, he just did that all on his own. We weren't even talking about it, and that told me he knew that burglar was trapped. And as I'm going on, that looks like the excuse that's been used to try to break into my home and murder me, is that there was a burglar trapped during the commission of a felony. Okay, burglary of a habitation. Okay, and so I showed him more, and he literally sat there and said, "Well, I think you have a mental problem." And then I started showing him all the other homeowners that reported people in the attic. "I still think you have a mental problem." Literally, and so I'm starting to get upset, because it's obvious this is another dirty cop trying to cover up multiple murders. And so I looked at him. I said, "Can we agree that if I ain't shot with my gun, I'm shot with another gun?" And I start calling out the evidence. The size of pellets are 2.5 sizes different from the lab report than what was in my gun, proving I wasn't shot with my gun. The surgeon stated that he removed a large amount of plastic from the wound, which wouldn't be found if I had been shot with my gun. Lisa Rogers stated I was shot with a .45 handgun. Rosie Rodriguez made up the tie wire lie. No tie wire evidence. None of the other dozen police said anything about a tie wire. No pictures of a tie wire. It was a lie. There's absolutely no doubt I wasn't shot with my gun. Can we agree if I wasn't shot with my gun, then I was shot with another gun? That means somebody came to my home and shot me, and that's capital attempted murder. And he was pissed, boy. The anger on his face, his old lip was just trembling, because he's trying to cover up these murders, right? That's what's going on with duty agent. And so anyway, there's my FBI story here. And what I wanted to show you here, I found this online. I don't know if that'll pull up. Do you double click? This is a buggy little app right there. That's all I can say. Okay, we can edit it. This is right from the web. The federal FBI, right? The best of the best. The ones we're proud of. And, and we are proud of the good ones, but not the ones that are helping break into homes and murder good, hardworking people. We're not proud of them, okay? So public corruption, it's our top priority among criminal investigations, and for good reason, okay? Public corruption poses a fundamental threat to our national security and way of life, and impacts everything from how well our borders are secured and our neighborhoods protected, the verdicts handed down in courts, to the quality of our roads, schools, and other government. And it takes a significant toll on our pocketbooks, wasting billions in tax dollars every year. I'm in 100% agreement on that, okay? It's their top priority, except the problem is here, I had pictures of a dozen police. It took me 6 years to get identified. I don't know how big of public corruption you can have, right? And, and so there's your public corruption here. Here is a picture I took of the registered mail I sent on June 14, 2016. And that went in to Brandon Griffin, okay? And there's the address, okay? On the top, it was a print screen from this conversation with Lance Eggleston. "We know where you sleep. We have access to your residence at all times. No one will ever believe your story. We will come again. You will be silenced, not if, but when. When are you going to murder me, Lance?" I got this death threat after surviving a murder attempt. And that's the 3-ring binder, and that's the flash drive. And we're going to find out in a minute that it looks like that Powers destroyed that evidence in the multiple murders, okay? Here is Adolfo Baez. Remember, I talked to him. He knew a person I knew in Orla, Texas when I lived there, Kim Wilkerson, and she's a FBI agent too. And so we had a common person that we knew. And here he is now. He works for PetroCloud, And so it looks like an FBI agent went to work for a big oil company. Ain't that interesting? Since I was reporting to him about oil show parties where they murder little girls that won't prostitute. Ain't that kind of interesting to you? Can you see the connection there? And there's a phone call. Hold on. Okay, this right here is the trap burglar a screenshot picture that I took. This is what the duty agent, FBI in 2019, pulled up on his phone while I'm sitting there talking to him. And so that was what told me he knew about that burglar that was trapped in that guest bathroom. But I didn't know it at the time. You know, I'd realized I was under a home invasion burglary. I'd tie-wire door set. And here's from the nurse's notes, 11/27. And she was documenting what I'm saying. There's sirens going off, the alarms going off, alarms in my attic were going off. Remember, homeowners all over Midland, Odessa, Texas have reported people in the attic now. Okay. It's now documented. Okay. In closet, there's a voice recorder. That voice recorder was told. I told the police about it, and it would disappeared for about a year and a half, whatever. And then it was checked into evidence. That I've made a big point about the police stealing the voice recorder, and I tie-wired my cabinets and doors shut. Okay, and so that's why that's in there, because that's where the police knew I tie-wired it, and I think they already knew because 5 of them were below my house. And you know, and I've explained this story before. Okay, they're working with the burglars breaking in these private homes and stealing services and terrorizing and threatening people's lives and stealing their property, etc. You know, because they're trying to get you to sell your property at the price they set. You know, I'm sure it's very profitable racketeering what these corrupt police are doing, you know, and this gang. So anyway, I unknowingly trapped this burglar. I'm on the other side of the door with a gun. It's a dire situation. If they arrest the burglar that they're working with, it'll expose the underground homes, the oil show parties, murder of the last homeowner, the murder of the little girl. You can see how they would not want to do that. You know, so that's where it looks like they decided, oh, let's kill Buddy, and then we can get the house. You know, the ex-wife will get the house for free, and then, you know, and we'll just laugh all the way to the bank, you know, and make it look just like we did to the last guy that lived there, you know. Anyway, this picture is what duty agent pulled up on his phone. I wanted to show you that. Okay, I want to show you one other thing here. Okay, this is a conversation with Jessica Hadley. Okay, and she also had information on the Haley Dunn murder, which it's found out that Haley Dunn's mom was a stripper in the area. So it makes sense that she was ordered to work at the oil show parties, just like my friend was. And it was also said that she was taking Haley to the strip clubs with her. And so it's suspected that she might have even took Haley to the oil show party, the underground oil show parties. And so that's possible. Billy Dunn and of course Haley's no longer alive were witnesses to that other young girl being murdered who refused to prostitute. And my friend that was there was afraid to report it, and said high-level police were there. And then here just a few months ago, Joe Lozano, a candidate for sheriff, tells me that the former sheriff Gary Painter used to hang out down there. So I got a feeling maybe Painter was down there, when that little girl was murdered, and that's who my friend was afraid of. But anyways, that's Jessica Hadley. She had seen them videos that were made of the Haley Dunn murder that Brandy Dunn talked about, and she described them as disgusting. Okay. But anyway, see, here it goes. I told her about a young girl was murdered at an oil show party. That's what I'm saying. She says, I've been about 2,000 of them oil shows, and I tell you what, there's more than just one that was murdered or raped because she didn't do whatever they wanted her to do. Okay. And she's going to go on further of that. She talks about Joe Commander, who just mysteriously retired the other day after I posted this, and okay, absolutely corrupt. The guy that replaced him might something. When I was arrested, he drove me around for 6.5 hours and told me if I wanted my children not taken, then that I would go ahead and snitch. That I could have my children if I didn't. It's a snitch. I did end up spending 11 weeks, 11 months in jail, and then ended up dropping the charge. And they ended up dropping the charges while in jail, and made CPS come and take my children. This happens all the time to women that don't cooperate or that will not do what they want them to do. I got to go now. Bye. Okay, so what she's telling me is that's how they're getting these women. They're using their kids and saying, we'll send CPS and we'll take your kids away from you if you don't do this, you don't do that. If you don't go to the oil show and you don't prostitute for us, then we're going to take your kids. And I'm worried that might have been happening to my daughter. Remember that my whole family, I've worried they've been threatened, and Yeah, I'm the first to admit how powerful these criminals are. They've shown that. That's for sure. A dozen secret police. See, that's first time. It's the first time in the history of America a crime victim offered a reward to identify police. Here's another one that's real interesting and pertinent to what we're talking about. Jessica says, the FBI owns Odessa and Midland are the source of the reasons why nothing ever happens to all of these crazy and wild things they control. Hope to God you can establish some line of credit, but unfortunately, if you stay in Texas, etc., etc., etc. Okay. I'm just going to read this highlighted part. And about the people they put in charge being the police and allowed by the federal bureau there that controls everything in Odessa and Midland, allows drug making, selling to children, robbing, and also murder all the time. It's happened for tens of years. Okay, she's going to go on to here. She's talking about 8 years ago was a boy named Cody. That's the Cody Mercer murder connected to the Haley Dunn murder, over unsolved murder out of Odessa. He was abducted, tied up, beaten, savagely raped by 4 individuals. These individuals belonged to a certain gang in Odessa. Okay, that's the same gang believed to have murdered Haley Dunn. A lot of evidence on that. The criminal system being as corrupt, the feds all the way down to the gangs that they use to act out their crimes is so corrupt and so strong that it's very hard to find anybody that will prosecute them. I can't even explain to you the amount of facts of knowing that this ring of pedophiles that actually run and maintain in Odessa and Texas, it is unbelievable that they have a system. They run it. They get people high to have them sell their children. They get them high to sell their children. They get them high to sell their children. It sounds like you're talking about Cody Mercer, and this woman, Brandy Dunn, said the same people who murdered Haley also killed him. She also said there was videos of it, and the cops have it. I sent her the print screen. And Jessica says, yes, that's correct. They videotaped the whole thing, and it's disgusting. And then there's a third person that told me that them tapes do exist. So that's 3 separate people that told me the murder of Haley Dunn, the murder of Cody Mercer was taped, and the police have them tapes. Okay, I'm going to move on down. It says, drugs, sex, it is crazy. They would use the girls and videotape them at the hotel at the end of, I forgot the name of it. Anyway, by the golf course, they videotaped thousands and thousands of girls that the gang would go ahead and take to the rooms and videotape. And then the federal people that were involved in it would take the videos and go all the way down to Dallas and sell it for pornography. It's absolute crazy. Okay. And so I just wanted to tell you that I'm concerned that's probably what happened to my daughter. And then I want you to listen to, on my YouTube channel, there's a video posted in 2016 called Conversation with the FBI. This is where FBI agent Powers called me on the phone after I had sent that packet of evidence about the multiple murders. And we're just going to listen to a little bit of it here.
Because people that don't live in town have nothing to do with what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, sir, as the investigator, we are the ones that can determine what's perfect for investigation and what isn't. So I'll tell you what.
How about a capital attempted murder and secret police caught in my home? Does that have a fact? Does that matter to you?
Do you understand what I just said?
No, I didn't. What did you say?
I'm going to repeat this once because I'm tired of you speaking over me. I'll give you until Wednesday to call me back to Jennifer's phone number. If I don't hear from you by then, either with her phone number or that you'd like to retrieve this information, then I'll destroy the information so no one else has it. I'll do that for you.
Okay, and so interestingly here, he specifically mentioned Jennifer, wanting Jennifer's phone number. Remember, I told you that I was told she's raped. I believe that she's been threatened, blackmailed. Maybe they have her on camera, like that one woman was talking about. Jessica said, and then using this corruption to manipulate her family, where she'll turn against her own dad. Okay, and then that's what it sounding like, looking like that. He specifically mentioned, and then the next thing he said, if you don't pick up this evidence, I'm gonna destroy it, shred it. Okay, and so I purposely didn't pick up that evidence because it is on multiple murders. It's evidence about multiple murders plus the capital attempted murder of my life, the horrific medical crimes, proof they faked X-rays, etc., and it was shredded by or destroyed by an FBI agent. This video has been posted for 4 years my understanding that destroying evidence is against the law, but that has been the blatant lawlessness that has been going on here. And remember, Powers, the guy on the phone here, was the same one that told me in 2012 not to return back to their office there. And so, my daughter's raped. I'm a little upset about that. It's one thing to come in there and shoot me and breaking my home over and over and over again, and leave me living under the threat of death, take me in a fake X-rays and maim and mutilate me, but messing with my family pisses me off. I ain't never giving up. I'm gonna see these criminals go to prison. This is Buddy.